freedom. O. Hoods, a European scholar, noted, "Jihad had to be waged to defend Islam against transgressions. Once the war was terminated, the Muslims always displayed a great tolerance toward conquered people, leaving them their legislation and religious beliefs." While Nur ad-Din was securing his troops and rebuilding the defenses of the people, there was a new war amassing in Europe, as nearly 50,000 men were being gathered between France and Germany to begin the Second Crusade, which headed toward Damascus because of the great amount of wealth stored there. Nur ad-Din was more peaceful than his father, and truthfully, he was a more dedicated Muslim. Nur ad-Din always searched for the path which led to the least amount of fighting and bloodshed to solve a problem. He surrounded himself with scholars and was deeply educated. Damascus was claimed by Nur ad-Din by the mere use of letters and promise of protection and the reclaiming of Jerusalem, as many Muslims from Jerusalem had fled there to Damascus. The citizens of Damascus welcomed Nur ad-Din after many years of non-violent appeals, and Nur ad-Din's troops brought food, water, and medicine to the people. Over time, Nur ad-Din built mosques, public baths, and hospitals. Many of the facilities are still in use today after all these years. Now, by the time European armies had arrived to claim Damascus, they were caught off guard by the massive army of Nur ad-Din and the courage of Damascus' own citizens. The Crusaders were easily defeated, and the Second Crusade was over very quickly. Nur ad-Din employed a great number of Kurds into his army because of the fierce dedication to Islam and their strength and discipline in combat. Among these soldiers was the father of Salahuddin and his uncle, the commander Shirkuh. Both of these men served under Nur ad-Din and attained a high rank in his armies. A fundamental element to Nur ad-Din's beliefs and his implementation in rule was the desperate need for unity among the Muslims. He strove hard to make the Muslim people and lands united under a single banner again. Because he did this, the Latin kingdom saw in him a great threat. Commander Shirkuh and his nephew Salahuddin were sent to secure Egypt and reinstate Islamic law in the land, and to act as a strategic base of operations for a secondary front in an effort to reclaim Jerusalem. Shortly following the reclaiming of Egypt from the traitorous Wazir Shawar, Shirkuh fell ill and died, leaving the command to his 29-year-old nephew, Salahuddin. Nur ad-Din was pleased with Salahuddin's rule in Egypt, and even had coins minted for him, and asked the faithful to give supplication for him after every prayer. Salahuddin was strengthened by the presence of his father and brother, who acted as governors for some of the outlying lands. Salahuddin streamlined government bureaucracy and modernized the naval forces. He eliminated the monthly sales tax and introduced an annual income tax, which would then be reimbursed upon the people. By doing all this and much more, Salahuddin was able to strengthen and merge the kingdoms of Syria and Egypt under the command of Nur ad-Din. Unfortunately, Nur ad-Din died of a heart attack soon after the kingdoms were unified. He was a most revered leader in his day. Even the Archbishop William of Tyre stated, "Nur ad-Din was a just prince, wise and religious." His ethic as a leader was unparalleled, and he demanded that no special treatment be given to him. His wife once complained that the revenue generated by 2 shops that he'd given her was not enough, and he replied, "I have no more. Of all the wealth I have at my disposal, I am but the custodian for the community, and I do not intend to deceive them by taking from government funds, or cast myself into hellfire for your sake." Because of his generosity and rule, Nur ad-Din was called Al-Malik al-Adil, or the Just King. Immediately after Nur ad-Din died, Salahuddin took over as ruler, and according to Nur ad-Din's final commands and wishes. Much happened between the time Salahuddin took power and the time he actually reclaimed Jerusalem. Now, For those of you that want a pretty accurate account, I can tell you the movie Kingdom of Heaven can provide you with a more exciting view than what I can read to you over the air. There are some artistic liberties taken in the film, and I'll let that slide. But right now, we'll just talk about some of the key historical points. But before we get into that, let me illustrate to you the kind of man that Salahuddin was. He is reported to never have missed a single prayer, even when he was sick. He loved hearing the Qur'an recited aloud and would often weep openly at the beauty of Allah's words. He is only one of 2 Muslim kings to make a journey for spiritual enlightenment while holding the position. This is when he went to learn the Muwatta of Imam Malik. Now, the Muwatta of Imam Malik is the most authentic representation of collected hadith in existence. The only other king to make such a journey was Caliph Harun al-Rashid, who went to learn from Imam Malik himself. Salahuddin would manage his affairs of state with the same regal and honest nature that his predecessor Nur al-Din had. His secretary Bahauddin once stated, "I never knew him to show anxiety about the numbers and strength of an enemy. He would listen to plans of all kinds and discuss their consequences without excitement or loss of composure." As such, Salahuddin was a just and fair king and commander. The trigger to continue forward with the plan to reclaim Jerusalem was in 1181 AD, when Reynald of Chatillon attacked a pilgrim caravan of Muslims on their way to Hajj, killing all in the caravan and stealing all their possessions. It was this barbaric act that would break the treaty and give the Muslims the means to rise and expel the Franks from the Holy Land. Reynald even planned to march on the sacred cities of Mecca and Medina in 1183 and to destroy the grave of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and entomb it in another city where he would charge Muslims a fee to visit it. He also had plans to destroy the Kaaba itself. Now, when he set out to do this, he was met with Muslims from all areas who killed most of his men, and Reynald barely escaped. He would lead more attacks on Muslim caravans and would